Not
Today,
me, right?
no, it's not. I mean, do you want to be? Okay. Yeah, we can arrange that one day. So, today we're talking about the holiday Singles Day, and I'm going to go over the vocab on page 2. So, number 1, root in. Actually, I think normally we say rooted in. Something that's rooted in something is basically like the origin or fundamental of something or basics of something. So, you can say for like your job, like uh, marketing is rooted in our company's success or something. Or if you were talking about if you had a a job related to um, social work, then helping people in need is rooted in your in your mission or your work. Sometimes we talk about a problem. Sometimes if we're trying to find a problem, then we're trying to find the root of that problem, the root cause. So basically, to use the word root in something is to say the origin. Number 2, curb, C-U-R-B, is to try to prevent something. It's prevention or just trying to stop something or slow it down. So if you wanted like a kind of physical idea, the street curb. When you're driving on the street curb comes up so that it's to help prevent you from driving on the sidewalk, right? If you're on a diet, you're trying to curb your bad eating habits. Or if you're trying to cut down on drinking, then you're trying to curb your drinking habits, trying to slow it down. Number 3, turmoil. Turmoil is basically when there's some kind of like, either it can be confusion or it can be like some kind of, disagreement or some kind of terrible event. So, for example, there's 2 ways. So if you're talking about yourself, if you're confused about something, maybe you have an obligation to work, but you don't want to do it. You feel some turmoil about it. Or even if you have an obligation to somebody else, you're like, oh, it's my best friend's birthday, but I really want to go to my class with Brian. I have so much turmoil about it. Thanks. Okay. So that's one way of having turmoil. That's inner turmoil. Inner turmoil is usually like you feel conflict about something. However, if you're talking about turmoil like in politics, this week they had some big riots in Paris, and people were like, they were fighting. There was a lot of violence. There were protesters. You had police that had, fires and damage and everything. That's turmoil as well, but that's like a bigger conflict. So when you hear turmoil in the news, usually it's because you're hearing about some kind of big conflict. If you hear about somebody else's personal turmoil, then they're talking about their own problem or their own issues. Number 4, spike, is used whenever you're talking about like sales or if you're looking at a line graph, and suddenly like the figures jump up and then go back down. It just makes like a spike shape. Number 5, exploit. So when you exploit something, you're just taking advantage of something. So for example, there can be some really bad ways, like if a factory exploits their workers to make them work very hard and long hours for low pay, that's exploitation. But if you're also trying to market something and take advantage of a situation, you're kind of exploiting that situation. So, for example, if if there's like it can even be like the season, So like if you're a company that sells like outerwear, and it's a very cold winter, then you can exploit that season and just market that so that you can sell more of your product. So you can say oh, it's so cold outside, don't forget to wear your outerwear, and then people would buy more of your product. So there's different ways to exploit certain situations. You can exploit people. If somebody in your office is really good at presenting, for example, and you have to have your team present tomorrow for some kind of project. So if one guy is really good at presenting, you want to exploit that. Oh, you're so good at presenting, you have to do it. And then, get them to exploit, and then you have more chances of success that way. Last, number 6, jump on board is a fantastic expression that we use very often to say that you want to join something, that you totally agree to be in on something. So sometimes we say jump on board or to be on board, either way. I try to imagine it as like when you're boarding a plane or a ship or a train. That means you commit to joining for that journey, right? So to jump on board can be like, if there's a startup and they're like, hey, we have this idea, it's going to take some time, some money, and we don't, we can't guarantee success, but after a couple years, we think it'll work really well. Are you in? And then if you agree to join, then you can say, okay, I'll jump on board, or I'm on board. You can also say that for plans. If your friends say, hey, next week we're going skiing, and we want you to join us, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of busy, but let me check because I have class with Brian, so. So, and then I'm like, okay, no, it's fine, go skiing, I don't care. And then you're like, okay, guys, I'm going to jump on board, like you agree to it. So you can use, or you can say, I'm on board, yeah. And those are our vocabulary for today. Bye.